Today we're going to talk about 7 lessons we learned in the 7 years we've been together.
There's been times where it's like right before we're falling asleep and I'm like, Daniel, I need to tell you something.
One of my favorite parts about our relationship is that I actually find you funny. Not actually.
Why is it important to say I love you when obviously we know we love each other? We got married and committed to each other for life. Recently we celebrated our 7-year dating anniversary.
It was 7 years ago when I officially asked you to be my girlfriend. We were by the beach, we were hanging out, romantic night. I think we set up the hammock.
Yeah.
Mariah introduced me to hammocks.
We loved hammocking at that time and we haven't really since.
I didn't hammock growing up, but you expanded my worldview by introducing to me the concept of a hammock. So thanks for that.
Anytime.
And it was on a hammock when I asked you.
Really?
Yeah.
For some reason, I remember he asked me through a letter. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I
Sitting
remember
by a
you
tree.
giving me the letter, and I was sitting against
Guys,
the tree
I'm
reading
completely
it.
wrong. You know,
Was that
it was
right?
like the Mandela effect, but by myself. You know the
By
effect
myself.
where like collectively
Yes.
people misrepresent something?
Yeah.
Like the spelling of Fruit Loops?
Yes.
Or like
yeah.
the fact that the McDonald's or the Monopoly guy had a monocle or not. Anyways, I just did the Mandela effect by myself. So it wasn't in a hammock. It was actually in a tree.
So 7 years together is kind of a long time. And so we reflected on the things we've learned the past 7 years. I also feel like 7 years is kind of like, I don't know, have you heard this thing people say that at the 7-year mark is when people start having problems in their relationship? I don't know what that is. So we'll be extra aware this year.
Are we having problems?
No, but we're just got into our 7th year.
Oh, okay. So
who knows what's down
check
the
in
line?
with us in like 8 months.
Who knows what's down the line?
Yeah.
But
I guess we won't know until year 8.
Yeah, we'll check in next year.
So we want to share 7 lessons we learned over the last 7 years. The first one is that appreciation isn't assumed. It must be articulated. And I think that this helps for me, who's not like a verbal processor. And I've learned how to encourage, and that encouraging is a positive attribute to a relationship. But I don't really come from a family background where encouragement is like me and my brothers growing up. We didn't say, bro, you're doing such a great job. Bro, you look so sweet in that t-shirt. We didn't encourage each other like that. I feel like that was maybe more common in your family.
Yeah, I think encouragement was like almost like a regular rhythm in my family.
Yeah. My dad was an encourager, but outside of that, we were just kind of like, yo, you know, I love you. You don't need to hear it.
Yeah. So I think we've had moments in our marriage where like I feel almost like I know Daniel appreciates the certain things I do, but him just saying it would go a long way and like just acknowledging it, making me feel seen for the things I do. I don't know. It sounds like, oh, why would you need that? I feel like as I'm saying it, I feel like that a bit, but
yeah.
I think we've all experienced that. It's nice to have that
and
encouragement.
I think it's like the person who you're closest to.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to verbalize it because, yeah, people can't read minds.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we learned. What's the second one?
The second one is that being present with each other is productive.
Yeah, and we'd say this in context of parenting, but it also applies in romantic relationships.
Yeah, so Daniel and I love to get things done, but we've learned that we do need to carve out that space of just intentional quality time, almost like blank space for our relationship, where we just like go on a really long walk or creating times really to chat makes a really big difference for us in our relationship.
And I think that both of us like working in each other's presence, so we can find ourselves in cycles where a lot of our unallocated time drifts towards more work together, but we found it helpful to be able to just be present or go for a walk or allow ourselves to embrace just like serendipitous, non-scheduled, non-planned, non-work oriented time together. The third one is that going for drives and walks together often create the best environment for necessary conversations.
I feel like, I don't know if you've experienced this physical feeling when you need to bring up something vulnerable, but it's just like you almost feel it like a burden on your chest, maybe your
100%.
heart's beating faster. And I think there's been times where it's like right before we're falling asleep and I'm like, Daniel, I need to tell you something. And it's just like, of course, you're always so gracious to be like, oh, what is it? Even if we're just about to fall asleep. But we've just kind of learned over time two of the best spaces for those kind of conversations are walking together and driving together.
Yeah.
Can you speak to why those specific times
Yeah.
are almost better?
Yeah, I think for me, I know I'm easily distracted. So like there's something about when I'm driving that I'm like focusing on one thing, the road isn't really changing and my mind just gets going. I don't know what it is. I think the same thing is like with walking through the city. It's almost like my brain is stimulated in like the perfect way to like motivate conversation or something like that. And there'll be ideas that I remember like, oh, it's like almost like as my body gets going, it's almost like my mind gets going as well. So I'm reminded of things that I've been meaning to chat with you about or things that just thinking about for a future or whatever. I don't know. What would you say it is?
I think there's something about both driving and walking that creates a more casual
Yeah.
environment, that it
That is
doesn't
fair.
seem like this big, huge moment where you need to bring something up. And something about that you're not like directly facing each other and looking at each other, I think helps.
Feels less intimate for me.
It's almost like a less intimate environment to have an intimate conversation.
Yeah.
It makes it feel more approachable.
I've
I know
wa-
you're joking, but
No,
yeah.
it's legit. Like I think that like I remember someone once told me that men have their best conversations when doing something together. Like, so if you're like going for a hike with your friend or going for a jog, it's not like with women who will go for a coffee together or a tea or dinner or whatever. It's like, and then you're like facing each other, but guys like almost like being shoulder to shoulder as opposed to face. Whether that's an unhealthy part about manhood or what, that's another conversation for another time. But I notice that in myself,
Yeah.
that I have my best conversations when walking, running, or driving.
The fourth one is that laughter can be the glue in a relationship.
I think one of my favorite parts about our relationship is that I actually find you funny. Not actually. Like, actually, I feel like sometimes when you add actually, can we
It's
talk
kind of
about-
like, why does it
like
like turn
shady?
into a diss?
like you actually look good.
Yeah. For one.
It's like, why does actually make things sound so much more shady?
Yeah, but I do feel like laughter has been so important for us. We bond over a lot of funny things together, first of all, but also for me, I think there's been times where you've made me laugh at something that just helps me to realize like I don't need to be taking this so seriously. Like I can relax a bit. And that has been so important for me the last 7 years.
Yeah. And I think that like there's something disarming about laughter. Like it's hard to be mad at someone you're laughing with. There has to be something that's like neuro sciencey
Even
about
like
that.
I feel like when I'm like kind of in a bad mood,
Neurochemistry.
when I'm kind of in a bad mood and you make me laugh,
Yeah.
it just changes. Like, I don't know. It communicates so many things. Like, it communicates you being like, I'm not going to let your bad mood affect me. And
Yeah.
then, like, that makes me less guarded
Yeah.
or something and helps me to come out of the bad mood. Like, laughter is so important.
I've heard when you smile, it tells your brain that the thing that you're doing is enjoyable.
Oh.
So sometimes when I'm like dying on the Stairmaster,
You're
I'll like smile. It hasn't worked yet. But I think like deep down inside my brain
You
registers that it's
smile
enjoyable.
when you're on the Stairmaster. That's so
Like
weird.
sometimes when I'm grinding,
I'm literally, imagine
Right.
seeing someone do that.
I was trying to be like intimate. Guys, you're watching live time. My intimacy offered and it being rejected with laughter and being laughed at.
Okay,
So
what's
there
the
you
next one?
go. It's going to take me a while to recover. The fifth thing is that affection is key to belonging. So normalizing physical and verbal affection is actually really important to a relationship.
Yeah, I think couples can really get in a rhythm of just never affirming each other in
Yeah.
those ways, and they get used to it. And I just really think it's important. It's something that I always want to prioritize with
Yeah.
us. I feel like we've done a good job at prioritizing that because we both are quite physically affectionate, naturally
At our best.
at our best. And what are you getting at?
I had to clarify that because when I'm stressed,
Oh, I thought you were talking
I'm-
about me.
well, maybe it applies
Me
to you as
too,
well,
yeah.
but I was first
Thinking about
thinking
you.
about myself.
Yeah.
When I'm stressed, I'm not as affectionate.
Yeah, I
I'm
can
just kinda
feel.
like-
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Why is it important to say I love you when obviously we know we love each other? We got married and committed to each other for life.
I feel very clear on this. I feel like saying I love you or being affectionate verbally or physically reminds you not to take the person for granted. It's almost like if someone does a kind gesture for you, you say thank you to remind yourself and the person that you see it as like something that is novel, something that isn't deserved,
earned. Yeah.
isn't for granted. You know what I mean? And so whenever I give you a hug or do one of these.
Hey, kid.
I'm reminding myself that I don't take you for granted.
Yeah.
And I also remind you that I don't take you for granted. When I slow down before I leave the house and give you a hug, I think it's a reminder both to myself and to you that I don't take you for granted. Don't give me those dreamy eyes.
I like hugs.
You're
I was picturing the moments. When
it looked like you were like daydreaming. Yeah. You know in those cartoons where those like little bubbles go up and then you. Anyways, it's
that's what was happening.
That's what it felt like happened.
The sixth one is always fight to celebrate often. We're good at this. We keep track of all the different anniversaries we have and we celebrate them. We go out for dinner. We do something.
Yeah.
It's good to celebrate.
And celebrating doesn't always have to cost something.
No, it doesn't.
You can celebrate in very cheap ways, if not free ways.
What made us decide we're going to have a relationship that celebrates often? Like, how did we learn that over the last 7 years?
It's something we both identified as something we value. We realize that what's celebrated is repeated. So if, for example, we're celebrating a milestone in our relationship, say it's 5 years, it's like we mark this moment with hopes that we would find ourselves at year 10 and also still celebrating, year 15 also still celebrating, and so on and so forth. I think also there's something just positive and fun about celebration. Like sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it's like if there's an opportunity to celebrate. Mark the milestone together or just celebrate the win that you experienced or I experienced or we experienced together.
Yeah.
And just almost like delight in the fun of it.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, I feel like I just feel like we want our life together to be something that is fun and exciting. And so when we celebrate often, it often reminds us of like the beautiful life we get to live.
Yeah.
So I think that's
it is true. And I think that like one last thing I would say is that because we live a life that is so consumed by the awesome productive things we get to be a part of, I think it provides a bit of a break to the intensity or the minutia of life, and we're able to like sit back and really celebrate what that hard work and almost like grinding has led to as well.
And the seventh one is a bit almost double-sided. It kind of tackles two different things, and it's that an encouraging word or self-controlled silence could either make a moment or save conflict.
Yeah, I think that there's times where, almost tying back to the earlier point where we were talking about like the temptation there is in a relationship to like take the person for granted. And I think that like sometimes we choose to be silent instead of sharing an encouraging word just because it's effort or it feels too intimate or again, we take it for granted. And because of that, we miss the opportunity to make a moment, make someone feel really special or cherished. And it's like when I look at you and say like, oh, you have no idea how much it impacted me when you brought me lunch today. It made me feel really thought about. It made me feel really cared for. And it really showed me how amazing of a wife you are. It's like, I could have just not said that.
Yeah.
But I am almost like choosing to withhold something that has the potential to make your day so much better.
And I think there's something about being married, like compared to dating, that you almost convince yourself that your words aren't as weighty to your spouse anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're dating, you know if you're like, oh, you're so handsome, or I love you so much, that's going to make them like give them butterflies. But when you're married, it's almost like, oh, like if I say this, I know it'll mean something to them, but will it really have that depth of impact?
But also the other side of that is self-controlled silence could also save a conflict. So there's times where you know when there's that time where you feel like, oh, I'm about to say something to one up the person or to offend them or just straight up hurt them. And anytime you feel that, just take a moment. I wish there was like an acronym, like, or like a little thing that's like stop, drop, and roll. Maybe it's like stop,
SCS,
think,
self-control,
and don't say a word. Don't say anything else, because it's kind of like
stop thinking.
you know that whatever you're about to say just isn't worth it.
Yeah.
It's just like crosses a line, which is not helpful at the very minimum. So I think that like both of us have gotten better at just biting our tongues. Not that there's like tons of opportunity to go like, oh, say the thing, but it's just like, I think even if it's like subtle, so it doesn't even have to be like the scathing attack. It could be like, oh, but you, so on. So, and it could be a true thing, but
Or
you just
do this
decide
every time.
not to say it.
Yeah.
In order to save a conflict.
Yeah, I think there is like, you got to walk that line between like not saying anything ever and building up resentment in your heart towards a person and choosing when to say something.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a whole different conversation. But those are 7 lessons we've learned in 7 years together. I can't believe it's been 7 years, but at the same time, I can believe it. I feel like so much has
100%.
happened, and I'm just so thankful for you.
Thankful for you as well. Cheers to 7 more.
Cheers to 7 more. If you guys haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, and if you think this video would serve anyone in your life, make sure to share it with them. This would help them, but it would also help us as well.
And with that, we'll talk to you